Hello, everyone. We started with a little bit delay, but good that we have Nicole Blonder, co-founder of Equilibrium today, and we're going to talk about the power of music in healing. We categorize or talk in two parts. First of all, we're going to talk about how music is powerful to help recover from PTSD, trauma, and negative emotion. And second, we're going to talk about music industry and how they can deal with trauma and hard work and control their negative emotion and load. Welcome to my show, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, first talk about yourself. We go to first part and tell me how music help you control your emotion and negative thoughts, and how calm it is, and how actually what exactly you do right now.
That's a really good question. There's so much in there. So music has been sort of a salvation for me since I was very young, and I've worked in the music industry for over 20 years. And one of the reasons that I decided to go into the music industry is because I was so emotionally bonded to music, like many people are when they're young, just as a way to feel feelings and feel a sense of self-expression through other people's creativity. And that's really carried me through, obviously my adult years, and as a way to feel happier, or if you're feeling negative emotions, you can kind of channel that. It really touches us in a way that I think so few other things have the ability to. It sort of is the soundtrack behind everything that we're doing. And so I think, for me presently in my life, music exists in a healing capacity in a number of ways. I think one of the most potent ways for me is when I want to relax or actually go to sleep. There are lots of different types of sound and music that can actually, especially if you're wearing headphones, can help your nervous system relax, calm down, and help just to feel an overall sense of calm. And I think that's the most therapeutic use of music that I have in my life now. But even if if I'm working all day at the computer and I want to go out for a walk, sometimes I don't put music on, but very often it's a way to kind of clear the mental clutter in my head, or a way to help lift my spirits if I'm trying to get out of my head a little bit about whatever may be going on. The music that I choose to listen to very much can set my mood. Even, a lot of people like to sing in the shower, but listening to music like when you're getting ready in the morning, or, really can set the tone for your day in this way that it just, connects to your brain and your nervous system in such a deep way. I don't have the science behind it, but I'd say music exists for me in every part of my day, and is so, there's so much music out there that you can literally find a song or a piece of music to match any mood that you're feeling. And that's kind of one of the biggest gifts, I think, of music.
Beautiful. Actually, because I play violin, so I know the power of music in my own life. Because my father used to play violin as well, and I found it very nostalgic when I started. But I didn't start early. I was already in my 30s when I started. And everybody say, "Oh, it's so difficult. You cannot start." But I don't believe it. By the time you are alive and wish to learn something, you should do it, no matter what age you are.
I
And
agree.
my father always said that's the only way, because those days I didn't have any family in Canada. I immigrated here. I was alone. And my father said that's the only way you can really occupy your loneliness in a better way, and you can actually connect with yourself and know yourself. and enjoy being alone. And now I know, because right now with 3-year-old baby is really difficult to find those moments that I could actually enjoy creating music and peace. Because that's the great idea, when you feel that you're creating something but out of the note, or you are recreating something that is already created.
Yeah. Yeah. I also, and we had talked about this the last time we had spoken, that I recently started playing the harmonium. And I've never really been a musician. Everyone else in my family picked up an instrument and I picked up the business side of it. But I've always wanted to learn the harmonium because there's something that I really connect to about the sound of it. And I was gifted one, and I don't know how to read music or anything, but it's fairly simple, and I started playing it. And when I'm playing, it's very cathartic, because I can sing along, or just the sounds of it, the vibration of it that kind of surrounds me and kind of clears the energy in the space is like it's incredibly healing for sure. Hello.
Yes. Oh, you need to go. Okay. Yeah, actually, no, I know. Even for kids, I actually put her on music to listen. So, and all the kids' songs are on music, and she every day she sing a song, and I see how it can help her to help her brain to grow.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just see in the way that music makes most children so happy. And they
Yeah.
play, they clap, they play, they dance around. I have two very young nieces. They hear their favorite song and they get so excited, and it's visceral. It's not even really intellectual. There's just such an immediate connection that brings such the wide range of emotions that starts such a small age. It's such a gift, I think, for children to expose them to music.
Yes. And it's interesting because she's learning languages, two languages, my language, which is Farsi, and English. So through those music, she pick up songs and just repeating. That's a better way to learn language because it's fun. You see, and I love it. I love the way she's doing it.
I've heard from people who have come to America or Canada and tried to learn English that they learn through lyrics of songs because it's such a powerful connector. The actual music part of it can connect you to the lyrics, and the amount of songs that I knew every single word to 25 years ago that I could still sing if you put on right now, it's just amazing how it embeds itself in your brain. In a good way, but you're like,
Yes.
how do I remember this? I haven't heard this song for 25 years, but I still know all the words.
Yeah, isn't it? And I think that's the best way to learn, especially for kids, as I see for her.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
awesome.
we have a few seconds of break. We're going to go through the second part of the interview and see what you exactly do as a co-founder, and we come back again.
I've been working in the music industry for about 20 years, and through my own kind of personal health challenges, became interested in wellness. And Marnie and I connected last year and wanted to do an initiative around music and wellness.
We kind of created equilibrium out of a need for it. We've been having so many conversations with so many of you in this room and so many other people that we kind of wanted to create a larger conversation.
There's been a lot of conversations in music about mental health and mental health for artists and, mental health for people in the industry. And the idea of holistic health is sort of that and so many other things. Mental health, nutrition, and sleep, and relationships, and how all of those things sort of come together to have an impact.
Even if this isn't unique to our industry, it doesn't make it okay. So we might as well start exploring some solutions.
Yes, I see right now your purpose of the institute you have is creating a great connection for musician, right? Whoever who work in music industry, to help them relieve from their negative emotion or all the workload, because I know even in music industry you have a lot of workload project to do, right? So what are those solutions that you are going to talk about?
Yeah, we work with both artists and people in the music industry because the lifestyle that's sort of inherent in being an artist can be very, even though the creative act of music can be very healing and cathartic, the other side of that, which is recording and promoting and touring and all of that, can be extremely stressful, especially, even during COVID now when people are not touring. It's still extremely stressful, and being an industry that's very attractive to be in, there's a lot of competition for people to actually be in the industry, and so people are willing to compromise their well-being in order to do a better job. And so I think what we talk about at Equilibrium is the idea of holistic health, which I mentioned in the video. It's sort of looking at the various aspects of your life, from your sleep and your food and your movement, and which all tie into mental health, in addition to other things in your life like creativity and relationships, and joy and things like that, and kind of seeing your level of satisfaction in each one of those areas and how you think those things are serving you. It's a lot to investigate, but I think what we try to do is share ways that people can deal with the various problems like stress, like sleeplessness, like low energy, like overwhelm, fatigue. And I think that we look at all of these areas like, especially again now during COVID, like, are you moving enough? Are you getting up out of your chair and desk and moving every day in some way? And which I think is just generally good advice for everybody, especially now when people are not going out as much. Looking at your food and making sure that you're eating whole foods, nutrient-dense foods, a wide variety of foods. We talk about foods that are good for anti-anxiety and stress, and just ways to bring awareness to that aspect of people's lives so that they understand that what you put in your body is really important and does affect your mental health and your sleep and your level of energy. Looking at what is it that is affecting your mood. I think there's a lot of conversations around mental health, but sometimes what people don't realize is that all these other things are kind of underneath it. You can't really address your mental health, I think, and what we talk about a lot is you can't really address mental health issues without looking at all of these other factors in your life. And certainly there are people for whom there are kind of like they suffer from inherent issues, and maybe there was a trauma, or they were born with a specific inclination, what have you, but there's still such a powerful connection between all of these parts of your life that have a really strong impact on your quality of life and your level of satisfaction. And so I think it's the level of awareness of the different aspects of how you kind of run your day to day. And there's endless amounts of information that we can share. I mean, we share a lot of techniques, things like meditation and other anti-stress, anti-anxiety. We talk a lot about tapping, or EFT, which you may have talked about with your audience before, which is one of my personal favorite sort of stress reliever, anti-anxiety. And music certainly comes into play there, but I think when you're in the industry, sometimes you have to separate out like what your work is and what your job is, and then what music you enjoy or make for pleasure for yourself, because it certainly can get very conflated. And, that can sometimes mean that what you used to enjoy for personal satisfaction maybe is now taken on a work context. And so that can be something that happens to people too. But I think really like we're shining awareness on just how people live from a holistic perspective, because I think that we are human beings, and all aspects of our lives are connected. And so it's sort of never made sense to me, that when you're talking about trying to heal, that you're only looking at one thing, because everything else contributes to that.
Exactly. That's the purpose of this podcast as well. This podcast, it's actually look at the PTSD, but my other podcast talk about holistic medicine as a kind of healing. As you said, you cannot separate diet or less stress from your healing part, because if you have those factors in place, your healing is going to be very difficult. And medicine is not the only way to give you relief. You need other factors. An interesting part of the music, yes, if you do it as a satisfaction of your own, is different from when you have it as a job.
Yes.
Yes,
Very much
because
so.
exactly, because when you have a project due or something, is you're not thinking about, yeah, I'm satisfied, I'm doing this for, because when I was alone and doing this piece, I did it whenever I feel is right to do. But when you have a project to do to finish a piece or create it or whatever, or rehearsal, so these are like obligation that you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Exactly.
changes a lot. You know, some artists will go through the music industry and it will really change the way that they create, and force them to separate what they create for themselves versus what they create for their fans and their audience. Not to say that there can't be an inherent healing in that creative process and also in the performing process. I think, you know, performing for other people is a big part of what a lot of artists really thrive on, you know, in their creative, in their being an artist and being in the public, is sort of having that, being on a stage and having that validation. And it's been very hard for a lot of artists during COVID because they haven't been able to do that. And so that's very healing for people, is not only creating the music, but sharing it, you know, and having that communal experience with people live in person. You know, anyone that's been to a concert, you can attest to the energy that's in the room with however many other people that are there, and you're feeding it to the artist and they're feeding it back to you. And it's kind of magical, and you can't really explain it except to say that it's energy. And that's what music really is. And that's why it has such a powerful effect on our beings. But unfortunately, you know, there are some pitfalls in the lifestyle that comes with wanting to do this for a living. And so I think you really, when someone embarks on a career in music for their livelihood, you know, they have to really, really want it and be clear on their vision, because there's just so many pressures within the industry that are changing. I think there's more awareness of the issues, you know, and the stressors, but it's definitely always been a challenge, because there's the people that make the most music don't necessarily get the biggest piece of the pie financially. So that's an additional stress on their life, is not always being able to support themselves.
Exactly. And musician life is totally different from others. If they do it professionally, it's not like 9 to 5 the hours. 9 to 5. Yeah, they may need to travel. They may need to leave their family, right?
Yeah.
For a week, 2 or months. So a lot of stressors contributing to that.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. And some people really love that, you know, the travel, the go somewhere new all the time. And some people, I think, again, like I keep, you know, through COVID, have realized that they don't have to run around and be on the road all the time. They actually want to be home with their family. And you know, they may change how they approach their career moving forward, because, you know, it's a whole new world now. So I think that's been interesting, you know, to sort of experience just in talking to artists as we do, you know, as part of Equilibrium. I think it's through the last year of change, there's been a lot of realizations about the lifestyle and what people may want to do differently for themselves. But yeah, there's a tremendous amount of stress from being away from your family, from being, you know, in the public eye on social media all the time, and having people, you know, pick you apart and comment on, you know, everything about your life, because, you know, ostensibly you've put yourself out, you know, into the public eye. So that's an issue that obviously other public figures deal with as well. But I think it's people do it because music is so powerful and the creative process is so powerful and the performing is so powerful that to have that connection point with people is worth it to them, to be able to share their creativity and their art and connect with people and have this healing feedback is just, so incredibly powerful. That's why people do it and they keep doing it.
Exactly. And we miss it. We miss the concerts. We miss the public music outside. These were a good part of our life.
Yeah, I mean, people
Yeah,
sometimes ask the question, would you rather be deaf or blind, right? It's a weird question to ask, but like it's a game that people play. And I'm like, I can't imagine either, but to never hear music again feels like, I can't imagine it, that things being silent, not being able to hear that, there's nothing else like it. Like you're saying, there's not as much music outside, it's quiet. You notice, the difference. It's just like a beautiful layer of magic on top of life, on top of the life experience, because
exactly.
you could watch a film or, something, 30 seconds of, something, and you just watch it and it's fine. And you put some music behind it and all of a sudden it's a completely different experience. You feel different emotions, you relate to it differently. And just, when you're walking down the street and you hear music and all of a sudden you're like, oh, whether it's jazz or piano or whatever, you just feel different from interacting with that energy.
Yes, exactly. Music is part of your life and my life as well. Because if you remove it from your life, you may never change. Because what happened when you change the music, your mood is changed suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when I don't feel good, I said, let's just have some happy dancing. And then finally, my mood changed a lot.
Yeah, it's incredible how that happens.
Yes, it is. So, and I'm just looking at your website. You have Instagram and Facebook. What do you do with this website exactly? And what is your mission?
What is our vision? Is that what you said?
Your mission.
Our mission. So
yes.
Our mission is really to bring awareness to wellness and holistic health within artists and the music industry, to make it more sustainable for people to have a career as artists and in the music industry, because burnout is very common. People really go hard for a long time and they don't take care of themselves. And so we're trying to help people with these very unique lifestyles sort of understand these different aspects of holistic health and how they can make adjustments to themselves, to their lifestyles, to provide them resources, connection with other people, and just a path to healing, really, and self-reflection on what areas of their life they could modify in order to have a better quality of life. On our website right now, we're actually in the process of relaunching, so it will be different very soon. We're working on kind of a new model, but currently it houses our content. We have a blog there. We have a list of like-minded organizations that are kind of our friends in our community in the industry that are doing similar things to us, supporting like health and mental health in the music industry. We have a list of media where they're talking about aspects of wellness in the music industry. We have on there some recordings of our past events, which you showed a clip of from our very first event, which was 2 years ago. It's hard to believe. And it's just sort of right now really a landing page for us to connect with people. And most of our content lives on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube right now. And we're expanding our sessions library, which is essentially a collection of short classes or sessions of everything from meditation, yoga, nutritional information, manifestation, sort of like a full suite of kind of bite-sized classes that people can engage with, for whatever their need is. And we're in the process of expanding that. And we also like to support artists who are interested in wellness and help them to tell that aspect of who they are. Because usually when an artist gets interviewed or featured by a media outlet, they ask them about the music and, what the inspiration was behind the song or when they're touring. But we like to talk to artists about what their wellness routines are or how they overcame, like some artists have really figured out what they need, and they've done it themselves without anyone having to tell them. And those are great models for other people to be able to learn, like, oh, I can do this, I can make this change, I can make this request. And also we feature music as, we have a feature called Feel It All Friday, where we feature different pieces of music that really help us to feel our feelings. And then we'll invite the artist to share about how feeling their emotions helps their creative process, and also how that's important for overall wellness. Because I think, I mean, you've probably talked about this. If you don't feel your feelings, then it can manifest in many different, other health problems. And it's essential for healing to be able to kind of feel those emotions. So we kind of work in a few different areas, but I was, head of marketing at a record label for a very long time, and marketing and project management is my background. But being able to support artists, who have this kind of story to tell, or who are changing the way that artists do things in the industry, has been a real treat for me, because it's supporting them in a different way, which I think is really important, to give a voice to people who are doing it differently, doing it sustainably, finding ways to heal themselves, and really creating that community of people who don't want to, this sort of like old adage of like sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the music industry is like kind of outdated. And we're trying to, not that we're trying to single-handedly change that, but it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be a self-destructive place. And it doesn't have to be, not all art comes from a place of pain and trauma. And there can be healing and connection and wellness within, the music community. So that's what we're up to.
Exactly during the COVID, because life has been changed tremendously. So we have a history before and after COVID, especially for music industry, who, as you said, they've been out in public. Right now they are at home, or they are just creating music by their own at home. But there are lots of ways I see on the internet they actually created together. So at the same time they can create music. So this is a great time to see how virtual world working to connect people. Yeah, it's great. I love it. Maybe this time for COVID was useful for us to realize many things.
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, how to live with the family, because before COVID, we were so busy. Now we have more time spending with the family, and then enjoying even ourselves, even if we are alone. There are lots of great ways we can learn, especially music, maybe starting a new instrument. I remember forgetting my lessons. Even if I was pregnant, I couldn't go to the class last like few months in my last pregnancy. And then I used to get the lesson virtually. So this way,
It's been really interesting, because in a way it's very limiting, because you can't be in person with people. But I think that's also freed people up to collaborate with people that they never would have thought they could collaborate with, or take classes or lessons in something that they didn't think they could because it wasn't in their town, or they were never going to have the time to commute, or whatever the reason was. In the same way, like one person lives in Europe, one person lives in, in America or whatever, and they're like, oh, we're never going to get together in the studio. But now they're like, oh, we can just, like you said, go back and forth on, online or whatever software they use. And it's, I think for some artists who are interested in exploring that, it has been a new stream of creativity to tap into. And I think, like you said as well, being sort of in lockdown, as many of us were for a long time, picking up a new instrument or writing new material or being inspired by a different challenge can be very rich in creative fodder to do something, whether it's professionally or just for personal satisfaction. When I play the harmonium, it's not for any other reason but for myself and the people in my house that enjoy it. And I don't know if I would have had the same amount of time to do that if I wasn't, if it wasn't now. So like you said, I think that it can be a gift, even though so many people have obviously suffering and, we've lost a lot of people in our lives, and it's not necessarily a good thing, but to look for the jewels amongst all of the hard times, I think is, especially in the realm of creativity, I think it has been very fruitful for some people, for sure.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nicole. I really enjoyed to have somebody from music industry. And
My pleasure.
thank you so much for talking about this issue, because not everybody specifically think about musicians. They go to public, they listen to concerts, but they don't know what is at the background and what they do to make them enjoy the music, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for this discussion. Hopefully
Thank you.
you can still enjoy, even during this COVID, creating something or learning your harmonic.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Please subscribe to Pantea Kalhor Transition Channel and order my book, Rules of Change for the Better. Tune up your mood and transform your life to reach your biggest dream.